everyone, this is Chernines, and for this video lesson we will talk about inverse function. The inverse of a function is like a mirror image of the original function. It is basically the reflection of the original function but is inverted or reversed just like a mirror image. At the end of this lesson, we will be able to determine the inverse of a one-to-one function and find the domain and range of an inverse function. So here's the definition of an inverse function. Let f be a one-to-one function with domain A and range B. Then the inverse of f, denoted by f inverse, is a function with domain B and range A defined by f inverse of y equals x if and only if f of x is equal to y for any y in B. A function has an inverse if and only if it is one-to-one. Here's another definition of an inverse function. Please take note that an inverse function is always a one-to-one function. Okay? So if f is a one-to-one function with domain x and range y, and g is a function with domain y and range x, then g is the inverse function of f, if and only if we will be applying the composition of function or composite function. So we have here f circle g of x if the answer is x for all in the domain of g, and we have also g circle f of x, and the answer will be x for all x in the domain of f. Therefore, g is the inverse function of f and vice versa. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Okay, to find the inverse of a one-to-one function, we are going to follow these steps. Okay, so there are 4 steps. Okay, so f inverse of x is the inverse of f of x. If, yun na nga, yung sinabi ko, yung composite function, kung i-apply natin siya, yung sagot niya will be equal to x. Okay, so let's have this example. Find the inverse of f of x equals 3x minus 2. So for the first step, in finding the inverse of this function f of x equals 3x minus 2, we're going to replace f of x with y. So we have y equals 3x minus 2. Step number 2, we're going to replace every x with a y and replace every y with an x. So we have x equals 3y minus 2. So, yun nga, lahat ng y ginawang x, lahat ng x ginawang y. So, yun na siya. Ang labas, we have x equals 3y minus 2. Step number 3, solve the equation for y in terms of x. Okay, so paano yan siya? Ang goal daw dapat natin is dapat y na lang yung matira sa isang side. So, anong gagawin natin dito sa x equals 3y minus 2? Okay, so para y na lang ang matira. Okay, so we will add 2 sa both sides. So, magiging x plus 2 equals 3y. Okay, so para y na lang talaga matira dito sa right side, we will divide both sides by 3. Okay, so dividing both sides by 3. Okay, so 3y divided by 3. Ang sagot na lang is y. So check. Okay, so we have y is equal to x plus 2 all over 3. So, yung goal na natin na dapat y lang ang matira sa isang side, check na siya. So, let's proceed to step number 4, which is to replace y with f inverse of x. So, yan. Yan ang inverse. Okay? So, ang inverse ng f of x. So, ang inverse ng 3x minus 2 is x plus 2 all over 3. Now, let us prove that f inverse of x is the inverse of f of x. So, ito na nga yung result sa ating ginawang example sa previous slide. So, f of x is equal to 3x minus 2 and ang kanyang inverse na lumabas is x plus 2 all over 3. So, ang gagawin lang natin, ipoprove natin na inverse nga ni f of x si f inverse of x. So, paano? So, let's just use the composite function. Okay? So, we have here f inverse of x circle f of x. So, paano yan siya? So, that's equal to f inverse of f of x. Okay, dito muna tayo sa left na equation. Okay, solve muna natin siya. So, using that one, since ang nasa outer na function is yung f inverse, titingnan natin yung f inverse. So, ang f inverse, yan, okay. So, here's the f inverse. Okay, x plus 2 all over 3. So, lahat ng x dito, okay, replace natin ng f of x, which is 3x minus 2. Okay, so we will have the quantity 3x minus 2, okay, and then plus 2 all over 3. So, ganyan siya. Now, let's simplify pa. So, yung sa numerator, so 3x minus 2 plus 2, the answer is 3x na lang, and 3x divided by 3. So, the answer is x. So, check. Kasi dapat yung goal natin is x para masabi natin ang inverse niya. Okay? Inverse niya ito. So, hindi lang pwede na yung isa lang. Kailangan nating i-try din yung ito. Okay? Baliktad naman. F of x circle f inverse of x. So, we have here, okay, since ang nasa outer is itong, or yung nauna is yung f of x. So, ito tingnan natin itong nauna, f of x na 3x minus 2. So, 3x minus 2, okay, yung x dyan, palitan naman natin nung f inverse, which is x plus 2 all over 3. So, nga, ito na siya. 3 times the quantity x plus 2 all over 3 minus 2. Okay, so we will divide 3. So, 3, okay, divided by 3. So, ma-eliminate na yan siya. So, natira na lang is x plus 2 minus 2. And the answer is x. Okay, so, x ang sagot sa dalawa. So, therefore, f inverse of x is the inverse of f of x. Okay, another example, we're going to find the inverse of f of x equals x over x minus 1. So, first step, we're going to replace f of x with y. So, magiging y equals x all over x minus 1. Step number 2, we're going to replace every x with a y and replace every y with an x. So, magiging x equals y all over y minus 1. Next step, okay, gawin natin, or we are going to solve the equation for y in terms of x. Ibig sabihin, dapat y na lang matira sa both sides. So, as you can see, this is a rational equation. Okay, so let's multiply both sides by the LCD. And as you can see, ang LCD dito is yung y minus 1. Okay, so i-multiply natin siya. Okay, so para mas madali, pwede nyo din i-cross multiply na lang yung x at saka yung denominator dito. Okay, so para step by step, sige, let's multiply it by the LCD y minus 1. Okay, so ma-eliminate itong dito, yung denominator, tsaka itong dito na y minus 1. So, ang result, so x times y, it will be xy, and x times negative 1, it's negative x, equals y na lang. Okay? And now, ilagay natin sa isang side lahat ng may y. So, magiging xy minus y equals x. Okay? Next step, okay, so let's factor out y dito sa left side. Okay, na-factor out na natin. Yan. So, y times the quantity x minus 1 equals x. And next step, we will divide both sides by x minus 1. Bakit? Para y na lang ang matira. Okay, so dividing both sides by x minus 1, the result will be y equals x all over x minus 1. And for the last step, okay, so check na y na yung natira dito. Okay, we're going to replace y with f inverse of x. Okay, so here. So, ang inverse daw ng x over x minus 1 is the same lang, x over x minus 1. Let's prove that the inverse of x over x minus 1 is x over x minus 1. Okay, so we have here f inverse of f of x. Okay, so let's substitute. So let's look at these expression. So copy natin x over x minus 1. Ito na siya. Pero lahat ng x dito, gawin nating x all over x minus 1. Yan na siya. Okay? After that, okay, yung sa denominator, ayusin natin na maging common ang kanilang denominator para mas madaling i-divide. Okay, so magiging, copy lang numerator na x over x minus 1. Okay, over. So dito, ang denominator niya is x minus 1. Yan, x minus 1. So since x minus 1 naman yung kanyang denominator dito, so x na copy lang natin. Okay, minus. Yan, minus. X times negative 1, it's negative x. Okay? Negative 1 times negative 1, it's positive 1. So, yan. Okay? So, yan na siya. So, magda-divide lang tayo ng fraction. So, paano mag-divide ng fraction? Ang denominator is, kunin lang natin ang reciprocal and then i-multiply. So, ito na siya. Copy natin ang numerator na x over x minus 1. Okay. Multiply 2. Okay, the reciprocal which is x minus 1 all over x minus x plus 1. Okay, so may eliminate. Yan. So, makancel out itong x minus 1. Ano ang natira? So, we have x, okay, all over x minus x plus 1. Yan. So, simplifying the denominator. So, x minus x plus 1. Okay, x minus x. Okay, 0 plus 1. It's 1 na lang. So, x divided by 1. The answer is x. Check. Okay? So, kabila naman, since the same lang naman sila, okay, copy lang natin. Okay, same lang naman na x over x minus 1. Okay, so therefore, x din yung sagot. Okay, so check that the f inverse of x is the inverse of f of x. Okay, for this given. Another example. Find the inverse of f of x equals x plus 1 all over x minus 2. Okay, so first step, okay, replace natin, magiging y equals x plus 1 all over x minus 2. Lahat ng y gawing x, lahat ng x gawing y. So, x equals y plus 1 all over y minus 2. Okay, so dito, again, this is a rational function. Okay, or pwede natin i-cross multiply na lang. Yan. So, we have x times y. It's xy. Okay, x minus 2 is negative 2x. Yan. O, yan na nga. xy minus 2x equals y plus 1. Okay, so anong next step? Lahat ng may y, ilipat natin sa isang side. Okay, so magiging xy minus y equals 2x plus 1. And then, para y na lang talaga ang matira, let's factor out yung y dito. So, we have y times the quantity x minus 1 equals 2x plus 1. Next step, para y na lang talaga for the last dito, let's divide both sides by x minus 1. So, it will be y equals 2x plus 1 all over x minus 1. Okay? So, last, replace y with f inverse of x. So, yan. The inverse of x plus 1 all over x minus 2 is 2x plus 1 all over x minus 1. Example, so we have f of x equals 2x minus 3 all over 3x plus 6. So, replace lang natin yung f of x with y. So, yan na, y equals 2x minus 3 all over 3x plus 6. Lahat ng y going x, lahat ng x going y. So, we have x equals 2y minus 3 all over 3y plus 6. Next, cross-multiply lang natin itong x at saka yung denominator. So, 3y times x, it's 3xy. And then, 6 times x, it's 6x. So, yan. Equals, copy lang ang numerator na 2y minus 3. And then, lahat ng may y, ilipat natin sa isang side. And lahat ng may y, sa other side. So, magiging 3xy minus 2y equals negative 6x minus 3. And then, let's factor out y dito sa may y na side. Okay? So, magiging y times the quantity 3x minus 2, okay, equals negative 6x minus 3. And para y na lang talaga yung matira, let's divide kung ano yung nasa loob ng parenthesis sa both sides. So, magiging, okay, y na lang equals negative 6x minus 3 all over 3x minus 2. And then, let us replace y with f inverse of x. Okay, so yan. Yan na yung inverse function ng given na function f of x. Now, let's talk about the domain and range. The domain of a function is the set of all values that the variable x can take. The range of a function is the set of all values that f of x can take. The domain of the inverse is the range of the original function, and the range of the inverse is the domain of the original function. Okay. In finding the domain, please take note of the following. A polynomial function without radicals or variables in the denominator. Okay, so for this type of function, ang domain daw is all real numbers. Okay? So pag polynomial function lang siya, walang radical or variable sa denominator, automatic ang domain ay all real numbers. Okay? Next, if it is a function, okay, with a fraction, with a variable in the denominator, okay? So, rational function siya, okay? May variable sa denominator. So, to find the domain of this type of function, set the bottom equal to 0 and exclude the x value you find when you solve the equation. Okay? So, iset nyo lang yung denominator equal to 0 and you find the value of x that will make that denominator equal to 0. So, kung ano yung na-find nyo na value, hindi siya kasali sa domain. Okay? Excluded siya. Next, okay, so a function with a variable inside a radical sign. So, to find the domain of this type of function, just set the terms inside the radical sign to greater than 0 and solve to find the values that would work for x. Okay, so let's have these examples. So, ito, na-show ko na sa previous slide. Okay, so ang inverse ng 3x minus 2 is x plus 2 all over 3. So, nakuha na natin yung kanyang inverse function. Alam na natin kung paano kunin yung inverse function ng isang given na function. So, kunin na lang natin yung domain. Okay, how to find the domain? So, ang sabi nga, di ba, if it is a polynomial function, walang radical sign. So, tingnan natin ito. Itong given na function. This is a polynomial function, walang radical sign. Okay, walang denominator or what. So, automatically, ang domain niya is all real numbers. Okay? So, all real numbers. Okay? And for the range, okay, sa range daw, titignan natin ang dito. Okay, ang inverse function. So, dito, since ang denominator niya is walang variable, automatically, okay, pag ang denominator, walang variable, automatic na ang range niya is all real numbers din. Okay? So, yan na siya. So, ito ang domain and range ng f of x. Okay? So, ang domain, ito yung titingnan natin. Okay? Kumbaga, ano yung domain dito? And ang range, ano naman yung domain daw ng inverse function? Pero sa range natin siya isusulat. Okay? And para naman mahanap ang domain and range ng inverse function, okay, paano siya? Kabaliktaran lang siya ng given na function. So, ito. So, ang range dito, yun naman yung domain ng inverse. Okay, so ano siya? All real numbers din siya. And ang range naman is ang domain ng given na function. Ang range ng inverse is ang domain. So, okay, all real numbers din siya. Okay, tandaan lang natin, pag domain, okay, we will use the x variable at saka pag range naman, let's use the y variable. Okay? So, yan. Another example. So, yan. Na-solve din natin kanina. Okay, let's find the domain since this is a rational function. Okay, let's look at the denominator. Ano yung value ng x dito that will make the denominator equal to 0? Okay, so x minus 1 equals 0. So, it will be x equals 1. Okay, so yung x equals 1, hindi siya kasali sa domain. Therefore, the set of all x except 1. Okay, lahat ng real numbers except 1. So, yan yung domain natin. And for the range naman, tingnan natin yung sa inverse function. Okay, so since the same lang naman sila, it's not equal to 1 daw. So, y is an element of all real numbers such that y is not equal to 1. And for the domain, okay, kabaliktaran lang. So, not equal to 1 din siya. So, x is an element of all real numbers such that x is not equal to 1. And the range, tingnan natin ang domain ng f of x para maghanap ang range ng inverse function. Okay, so ito. Y is an element of all real numbers such that y is not equal to 1. Another example. So we have here f of x is equal to 2x minus 3 all over 3x plus 6. So this is a rational function. Now let's look at the denominator. Ano yung value ng x that will make the denominator equal to 0? What do you think? Okay, so we have negative 2. Okay, therefore, all x except negative 2. And for the range, all y except what? So, tignan natin yung inverse function. Ano yung value ng x dito that will make the denominator equal to 0? So, what do you think? So, it's 2/3. Okay? So, all y except, okay, all values of y except 2/3. So, that's the range. And to find the domain and range of this inverse function, let's just look at the domain and range of this original function f of x. So, for the domain, okay, tignan natin yung sa range. So, all real numbers, okay, except 2/3. And for the range, all real numbers except negative 2. Okay, ganun lang siya. As long as alam natin kung paano kunin yung inverse ng function, okay, malalaman na natin yung domain and range niya. Okay, so next. So here's the last example. Okay, to find the domain of this original function of f(x), okay, let's look for the value of x in the denominator that will make this equal to 0. So, ano yung value ng x dyan? X minus 2 equals 0. So, it's positive 2. So, x is an element of all real numbers such that x is not equal to 2. Okay, again, sa domain, we will use the variable x. And for the range, let's look at the inverse function. Kung baga ano yung domain ng inverse function, yan yung range dito sa original na function. So, dito, ano yung x dyan that will make the denominator equal to 0? So, we have positive 1. So, y is an element of all real numbers such that y is not equal to 1. So, again, ang range ng original function ay ang domain ng inverse function. So, x is an element of all real numbers such that x is not equal to 1. And the range, so tignan lang natin yung domain. So, all y except 2. For you to practice, try to find the domain and range of the inverse function. Again, domain and range of the inverse function of these functions. And that ends our lesson on inverse function. Thank you and stay safe.